are finally in person,
We
which is
are.
cool. Looking each other in the eyes whilst talking to each other is bizarro.
It is. Even though technically,
Like you still have that element with video chat, but it's definitely not the same. Like for me, you're just a 2D image.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's not even comparable to Surge Radio, because at that time we were both sat at the same desk looking forward at the screen.
Yeah, we
looking
kind
at
of
the
had to
decks.
twist our heads to see each other.
Exactly. But now it's like you're in the computer chair, I'm
Yeah.
sat on the bed, and we're just talking like super casual, super
Yeah.
nice. This is episode 14 of Double Vision. And for this episode, we will be listening to an album together, which is
Yes.
something we mentioned very early on, in fact. And I think I was listening to the Google Drive podcast that we made long before Spotify.
Yeah.
And we'd mentioned doing an album listen together. And finally we're doing it, which is super cool. And we also spoke about, so Joanna and I are in person now. I'm in London visiting. I have a wedding tomorrow, which is why I'm back in the UK. And I used the opportunity to come a little bit early to see Joanna. And it's been super cool and super creative. And I've watched 2 of your concerts now. We had one on the 22nd of February, and then on the 23rd as well, at 2 different venues, which was super cool. And we made a song together.
We
And
did.
it's just been a really cool creative process and lots of fun, and like nothing even kind of formal. We're just doing what we enjoy doing, I feel like.
We're just hanging out, having fun,
Yeah,
doing friend things.
being friends. But yeah, this is super nice. So the album that we've decided to listen to today is Infinity by
Yes.
Yann Tiersen,
Yeah.
which came out when?
2014.
2014.
Yeah.
Wow. And he's still producing music now?
Yeah, he put out something very recently. I think
Very cool.
as recently as like 2022.
And the reason we've gone for this one is I know Yann Tiersen originally because the first song I ever wanted to perform on piano, which inspired me to learn piano or start learning piano, was Comptine tu autre by Yann Tiersen.
Comptine de notre été, or like song, or I don't actually know what it specifically means. So like Peace from Another Summer. I don't know.
Yeah, and so probably go with Joanna's French pronunciation rather than my English reading of a
Nice.
French phrase. And that kind of started off because Joanna had already heard about Yann Tiersen,
Yeah.
whereas this was my first encounter with his music, and it was part of the soundtrack to Amelie. And I think a little bit later, you sent me this album, actually.
I did. I sent you a couple of albums, including this one and Too Bright by Perfume Genius.
Yes, you did indeed. And I still have that saved on my YouTube. And I still have the hard copy, I think, saved somewhere of Infinity.
I think I sent it to you via email as well.
Back in the day.
Yeah, back in the day being 2017.
Which is super cool. And I think I even mentioned this story on another podcast, which is we were in London together a year or so ago now, quite a while back. And we were in that album shop.
Yeah, at Camden Market, we had wandered into one of the
yes.
one of the record shops there, and it was very much a crate digging place. Like you'd go
Yeah.
in there and like spend a few minutes just like searching through all of these like used and vintage records. And on the
Yep.
wall, or was it in one of the bins? I can't remember.
I think it was in one of the bins.
I found Infinity by Yann Tiersen, and I just thought, well, I have to have that. And
Yeah.
I did not think about the fact that you also love this album and you might want it. And like I got tunnel vision. I was like, I found a thing to purchase, therefore I will purchase it.
And the story kind of told from my perspective was Joanna showed me that you showed me this vinyl.
Yeah.
And I was like, awesome, cool, I really want that. Because I thought you were giving it to me like as a, look what I
No.
found. And then you went and bought it and I was like, no, I wanted that as well. But it's still a fun memory, and it's not
Yeah.
like I hold it against you or anything like that. It's just funny how I remembered this story. So yeah.
Makes me sound like a monster.
Yes.
Maybe
not,
I
not
am.
intentionally.
I mean, no, I probably am.
No, it makes me sound self-centered. In the idea that when someone shows you a vinyl, it's like, oh, it must be for me.
Compromise. We're both garbage.
Yes, exactly. That's what we got to.
That's why we're friends.
That's why we're friends. Okay.
Right.
So
It's kind of weird being in person and doing this. This is something that we had planned for ages, but have never been able to do, mostly because we live in different countries.
Yes. And I'm realizing now, speaking face to face, how much more fluid our conversation is.
Yeah.
It's really crazy because whatever it must be, like the technical lag when speaking through a software.
It's quite significant.
Yeah, exactly. And we often speak over each other, and I think it makes it a pain in the ass to edit at the end.
Yeah, I think that's it's something I enjoy doing. I've always enjoyed splicing it together and editing it in such a way that it makes it sound like we were recording in the same room.
Yeah.
But equally, I think there is something to be said about having all the people in the same room and then being able to just do very minimal editing.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
You're able to have a greater output, whereas you can sink a fair few hours into editing something recorded telematically or over video calls.
Yeah, yeah. It's nice. It's nice. It's a
Yeah.
good feeling. And hopefully we have the opportunity to do this again in the future,
Yeah.
which was nice. We were supposed to do this last time I was in London, which was just before Christmas. But I got hit with a double whammy of flu and food poisoning, I think.
Oh, was it both those things?
Yeah, for sure.
Oh.
Because once the food poisoning had cleared up, I basically was still ill for like 2 weeks after that.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
You don't think it
fun
was
times.
like COVID or anything?
I don't think so, because there were none of the like symptoms that would distinguish it from a common flu. As in, like, I didn't lose my taste, I didn't have problems with my cardiovascular, or
Sure,
it
but
very well could have
I got
been.
COVID and I just had a cough.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe just built different.
Built so different.
Built so different that it takes me much longer to recover.
Yeah.
But yeah, so hopefully we have the opportunity to do this again in the future, because
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
it's also just, I don't know. I mean, I just picked up a coffee for Joanna and I before we started this, and I kind of sat down and just chilled for a minute, which is why it took me a bit longer than 15 minutes. And it was just like so peaceful, just watching people pass by. And I realized in that moment, like just having a moment of calm and peace, like how excited I was to come back and, you know, drink coffee, record a session together, and just listen to some music.
Yeah.
So I think for those of you at home as well, like Joanna and I started out our friendship, I suppose, in the second year of university, when we just listened to music together.
Yeah. I think it's not like we weren't friends at the time, but it was almost like we were friends as part of the package deal of being in a group of friends.
Definitely.
It's like, I still think we were like fairly close in the way that we were living together, and
For sure.
we all did a lot of things together because we just had that instant connection of I think it's a very rare thing to go into university halls and actually get along with the people you're living with, who you've just been randomly assigned a flat with.
Agreed.
Like that very rarely happens.
Agreed. I think we're a very rare case in that sense.
But I
because
think
our friendship group has survived even until now.
Yeah.
And we've been graduated now for 2.5, close to 3 years. So I think the point I was getting to was that this will kind of be full circle.
Yeah.
Where we went from listening to vinyls together in our accommodation in university,
Yeah.
and we're finally making it as a production now, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah. I mean, it's been going on technically since early 2020. That's 3 years.
Yeah.
The idea of double vision has been around.
Yeah. So shall we get into the first
We
song?
shall. Okay, so from Yann Tiersen's 2014 album Infinity, we have the title track to start us off, Infinity.